everybody, for coming to the Aaron Torres Podcast YouTube page. If you could do me a quick favor, see that little subscribe button at the bottom of your screen? Go ahead, click that subscribe button. Really does help our channel grow, our audience grow, and I really do appreciate it more than you know. So click that subscribe button. Appreciate your support. Now, here's the video that you came here for. Switch gears, and it is interesting. On the day that I just so happen to be wearing my Coach Prime, my official AT Coach Prime t-shirt, link in the show description if you want one of these. Get them for Christmas, get them for your family, get them for your friends. On the same day that I have to be wearing this, Coach Prime is back in the news, and it has to do with the Texas A&M coaching search, right? And so it's interesting because Texas A&M opens on Sunday, and we've obviously on this show and this YouTube channel, podcast, whatever, we've spent a lot of time talking about all the different candidates, who's realistic, who isn't, who could take the job, who won't. But one name that I did not mention over the last couple of days was Coach Prime. My belief is that he's happy, that he's comfortable at Colorado, that he knows that he has a building job to do there, and that ultimately, I don't think he's really interested in taking any other jobs this offseason for a multitude of reasons that we will get into in a second. But just because I personally don't think Coach Prime is leaving, the bottom line is plenty of others are speculating, could he potentially be a candidate at Texas A&M? And obviously the most notable name that has spoken about this, Stephen A. Smith, maybe the most notable person in sports media, he bluntly said on First Take the other day, he says, I think Coach Prime should be the target, and I think Coach Prime should take the job. Now, I think it's crazy. I don't think it's going to happen. I think there's a multitude of reasons, but I do think it's probably worth at least discussing very quickly. So let's get into it. So first of all, Stephen A. Smith on First Take. He was kind of just, I guess they were talking Texas A&M. I'll be blunt. I did not watch the show, so I did not see exactly what the context was. I guess it was actually technically on Get Up, Greeny's show. But Stephen A. Smith was asked about it, and he said, quote, Deion Sanders in the SEC, with that vault that they have available to them, with them hogs he could recruit, because he doesn't have them at Colorado, and he ain't going to get them now. I don't think they do it, but, and the insinuation being, I don't think Texas A&M is going to do it, but that is what Texas A&M should do. And bluntly, it sounds like Stephen A. Smith very much thinks that if Texas A&M were to offer the job, that Coach Prime should say yes. Well, I disagree. It's for a number of different reasons. And the first reason, bluntly, that I think that it's just not going to happen is because of something that Coach Prime actually said when he was asked about this job. So this quote, I guess, came out on Monday. And on Tuesday, he had his normal press conference. And here is what Coach Prime had to say in response to the entire fiasco, the entire situation, whatever. He said, I want to win a game. You think I really do sit and think down? Do you really think I sit down and think about that kind of stuff? What strikes you about me that you guys really think I sit down and say, oh, yeah, Stephen A., come on, I'm good. We've got to win. So that quote made a lot of headlines. People say, oh, Coach Prime didn't really deny it. But there was a second part of the quote from the press conference that I thought was much more interesting and much more telling. Here was what Coach Prime had to say as he continued. He said he was actually talking about other recruits and how he responds when recruits' parents ask if he's leaving. This is what Coach Prime said. He said, I tell them what I told them when I came here. I'm here. I tell them that my mother's here, my sister's here, my dog is here, my daughter's here, 3 of my sons are here. My other daughter comes to darn near every home game. We're here. And bluntly, listen, we could talk about the football fit and the recruiting fit and all that good stuff, and we're going to get to that momentarily. But at the same time, I think that's the part that a lot of people, when you just throw stuff against the wall, I think that a lot of people miss. This is the most important part. This is why Coach Prime is not going anywhere this offseason. And bluntly, I don't think he's going anywhere over the next couple off seasons. And it's because of family. It has nothing to do with football, recruiting, payday, salary, whatever. It has to do with family. He has 2 sons, very much on the team right now. And he has said publicly, Shador and Shiloh will be back next season. And so if that's the case, and there's no reason to think that they won't be, remember, they already transferred once from Jackson State to Colorado. If Coach Prime left, it means that he would leave his sons and some of his essentially adopted sons like Travis Hunter at Colorado in an impossible situation. Either they'd have to follow him to Texas A&M or anywhere else, or they'd have to stay at Colorado without him. And if they follow him to Texas A&M or the next coaching job, guess what happens? They're probably not getting eligible. We've been through this for the last 4, 5, 6 months. Guys that are two-time transfers, the NCAA is basically saying, unless it's an extreme situation, you will not be eligible next year. So that's the bottom line. That's really where this conversation ends. Listen, I don't even care, with due respect to his mom and his sister and his dog, who I'm sure are all lovely, both two-legged and four-legged, I'm sure they're lovely. The bottom line is he is not going to abandon his sons, and he's not going to put his sons in a precarious situation where they are now either ineligible or fighting for their eligibility. And by the way, same with his daughter, who of course plays for the Colorado women's basketball team. Shout out Colorado women's basketball, who beat number 1 LSU to open the season. So that's the most basic baseline reason. He ain't abandoning his kids, nor should he, and he's not going to make them fight for their eligibility. Beyond that, though, let's get into a couple other things, because let me start by saying this. I just don't actually even agree with the premise that Stephen A. Smith brought up. Now, I understand Coach Prime has spent most of his adult life in Texas. The boys were raised in Texas, and Texas A&M, quick look at an atlas, is in the state of Texas. And so I get the idea of Coach Prime returning home, and I get the idea of the opportunities that this would create. As Stephen A. Smith said, a lot of money, and I thought this was a very interesting comment by him, in which he said, this was what Stephen A. Smith said. He said, with them hogs, he could recruit because he doesn't have them at Colorado, and he ain't gonna get them. Well, Stephen A., I know you're not a recruiting expert. You got a lot of ground to cover on NBA Countdown and First Take and the Stephen A. Smith Show. But the bottom line is, I actually disagree with that sentiment as well. Does he have those guys now? No, he does not. Can he get them at Colorado? I absolutely believe that he can. Now, bluntly, listen, I'm not going to sit here and lie and BS and go through nonsense. Is recruiting at Texas A&M easier than pretty much almost anywhere in the country, let alone Colorado? It is, of course. You're an hour from Houston, maybe the single best, metropolitan area, Houston, Atlanta, whatever, in terms of high school football talent. You're about 2.5, 3 hours from Louisiana, another great hotbed of talent. And so basically, you don't even have to get on a plane to recruit a national championship caliber roster. So I agree with what Stephen A. Smith is saying, but it's not as though in a short amount of time, Coach Prime hasn't proven that he can get really good players to Colorado. Travis Hunter obviously followed him. Cormani McClain committed. Now, when Stephen A. Smith says hogs, I assume that he means those defensive linemen, offensive linemen, the big boys up front that ultimately win you national championships. Well, if you follow recruiting, Coach Prime is in very good position with a couple really big names. Now, again, be easier to recruit him at Texas A&M, some of the SEC schools, etc. But Coach Prime has made Colorado a national brand, and he is getting all sorts of talent to visit and to seriously consider Colorado. We've talked about it on this channel. Jordan Seaton, the #1 offensive tackle in high school football. He's visited Colorado twice this year, once on an unofficial and once for an official 2 weeks ago with his entire family. Is he going to commit to Colorado? I don't know. Everybody's after him. Georgia's after him. Alabama's after him. Tennessee's after him, etc. But Coach Prime is in the mix. Getting to Texas A&M ain't going to make a difference. He's in the mix at Colorado, and he has Colorado in his final few schools because of Coach Prime. We talked about King Joseph Edwards, 4-star defensive lineman from the state of Georgia, visited Colorado multiple times this year. Every single crystal ball, 24/7 Sports on 3 has Colorado as the favorite, with Colorado, Ole Miss, Florida State in his final 3. And this was a kid that considered Georgia. This was a kid that considered Alabama. And so again, I'm not saying any of those kids are definitively coming. We don't know until they sign on the paper on National Signing Day. And to be clear, I understand you can't win a national championship with one elite offensive tackle and one elite defensive lineman. You need lots of them. But the idea that Coach Prime isn't going to get those guys, I just don't buy it. Finally, let me say this, is that I do think, when I think about this situation, even if the son situation was not an issue, Shador and Shiloh and his daughter, of course, who's playing basketball, I still say, even if that was not an issue at all, the thing that stands out to me, and the second that I heard this, I was like, no. I just don't think it's a great fit. I just think it would be a disastrous fit. That's the name of this video that we're doing, the theme of what I'm talking about here. There's some logical reasons, but there is also some big picture reasons that need to be considered. And I just don't think Coach Prime, with who he is and what he's about at Texas A&M, I'll just be honest, I don't think it would work. And the one thing about Coach Prime, if you did your homework, if you followed this story for over a year now, dating back to when he was hired at Colorado, remember, he had opportunities to go other places. Why did he choose Colorado? It's pretty straightforward. It is because Coach Prime chose Colorado because Rick George, the AD, was going to let Coach Prime be Coach Prime. And that was one thing, the only way he was leaving Jackson State for a Power 5 or for any major program. He wanted to recruit his way. He wanted to market his way. He wanted to brand his way. And he takes outside advice. It's not as though he's the only, he has to stamp approval for everything. But he had opportunities to go other places, but they weren't going to let Deion be Deion, let Coach Prime be Coach Prime. And so to me, this is the most important part. Listen, I love Texas A&M. I think it's a great school, great people, great this, great that. I think with the right coach, they can have a lot of success. What I also believe is something that isn't a huge secret that not a lot of people don't know. There are a lot of cooks in the kitchen there. And as this Texas A&M job has reopened, what has the conversation been? They have all the money in the world, great NIL, great resources, great facilities, yet they cannot win. And the question becomes, they haven't found the right guy yet, but why have they not found the right guy? It's because there's so many cooks in the kitchen, so many people involved, so many people that want to say it's hard for a football coach just to be a football coach. By the way, that's not just a Jimbo Fisher thing. It's been going on for years and years and decades and decades. By the way, if you read up on the school, just the way the school is structured, it's hard to get stuff done because you have different factions and different parts, and athletics is part of this, but it's also part of that. So you have those things as well. You could even look at how this job opened up. Remember, this job opened up on Sunday. And as I've said on this channel time and time again, I don't believe that this was everyone at Texas A&M rowing in the same direction. I believe that a lot of people wanted Jimbo Fisher to stay this year and get next year to see if with that junior class, the 2022 recruiting class, he could win big. But there were some powerful people with a lot of money that write a lot of big checks that said, we want him out now. And so that how the job even opened is just everything you need to know about the place. There's a lot of different factions, a lot of different people calling a lot of different shots. I don't even know who's in charge. I don't know who's calling the shots. I don't know how much power the people that should have power do, let alone the actual football coach. And so, Coach Prime, you don't need my advice. You don't. But I'm just here to tell you. By the way, Texas A&M, you don't need my advice either. But if you're Coach Prime, stay as far away from Texas A&M as you can. I believe there are good candidates that will take that job and can have success. And I believe Coach Prime could have success too. But this isn't the right fit. Not right now. Stay away. Prime time, baby. Prime time. Stay in Colorado. Stay in Boulder. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to subscribe to the Aaron Torres Podcast YouTube channel. By the way, if you like the shirt, link in the show description. Remember, great Christmas gift, great holiday gift, great birthday gift. Order now.